Welcome everyone to Haven of Horror. As always, I am subject. We have a full panel tonight. Nobody gets a nickname because I can remember like two names from this and I don't care enough. But we're gonna talk about the 1987 Near Dark. This was Robert's pick. Robert, had you seen this before?
Yes, quite a while ago. I've seen this film a few times. I have the Blu-ray behind me, borrowed from a friend.
That looks like a
The
bootleg.
No, this is official. But can you guess what popular film franchise was out when they put this Blu-ray
Uh,
release out with the not original movie poster?
well, it's
Is
gotta be
it
Harry Potter,
Dracula
right?
Untold?
Oh,
Oh,
It's Twilight, of course.
no.
that is correct. But yes, this movie's. I don't know what rights issues are going on with this because it's very difficult to get, but apparently it's on YouTube, and that's how you guys watch this for now.
Yes.
But yeah, I've seen this movie several times. I love it. I think it's a really cool take on vampires. It's got a fantastic supporting cast. This movie really works for me in how it taps into like two vampire subgenres. You got the Western vibe to it, which we've recently talked about with Sinners and From Dusk Till Dawn, but it also has the drama, darker, more grounded take in the vein of what we get later with like Let the Right One In or Let Me In or Midnight Mass. It's more of that type of drama in places. So it's just a cool mix of ideas that I really like. It's not perfect. It definitely has some third act issues. I don't think it fully sticks the landing. But there's a lot of cool stuff here that I really appreciate. This is one of my favorite vampire movies, so that's why I picked it.
See, now I'm gonna feel bad when I don't love this movie. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, Noah, this is your first viewing.
Yes.
What did you think of Near Dark?
Yeah, so we have slight history with this movie because when we did Shutter Shuffle, this was one of our picks because it was it was streaming on Shutter briefly. But yeah, there's some rights issues with this movie, and it was taken off before we could have done the episode. So I had never heard of this movie until then when it was picked for our show. But ever since I like heard the premise and like kind of what the vibe was, I was like, oh, this movie sounds awesome. It sounds like it would be right up my alley. And yeah, having finally watched it, I loved it. I really dug it. Um, I love the cross between horror and westerns. You know, that's why I love Sinners, and I got to rewatch From Dusk Till Dawn, but I remember really liking that in that movie. Um, but yeah, I think I'll agree with Robert a little bit, and we'll get more specifically into it to talk about like what exactly it is. But I don't think I have like big third act issues, but there's a certain thing that's introduced near the end that I kind of have questions about, and I think maybe is wrapped up a bit easy.
Mhm.
Um, but no, like I love the premise, and I love the whole. Maybe not the whole, but I love most of the cast of this movie. I think everyone really gives great performances, and the music too is really good. Yeah, just I really overall like really vibed with this movie. So yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Hayden, this was also your first viewing. I had to threaten
Yes.
you to watch it, but what did you?
John
Yeah,
came to my house and held me hostage and made
You
me
said
watch Near
movie.
Dark.
movie.
Movie. Um, yeah. So we talked about this a little bit with Sinners and From Dusk Till Dawn. Like Noah said, horror westerns are like two of my favorite genres, and I love when they cross. Um, and it was just a first watch, and we watched not the best quality rip of it
Yeah.
on YouTube. I just on a first watch, I didn't vibe with this movie very much. I didn't not like it. I do like it enough. Like it's fine. I'd call it. I don't know what I want to call it. Like meat. I don't want to say mediocre because that feels too far. I
I
didn't hurt.
uh,
Go ahead.
from what Robert had said in our conversation earlier, I would describe this as a jack of all trades, master of none. It is pulling from a lot of different things, but I don't think it is doing anything exceptionally well. It is doing everything at average.
Okay, I can see that.
Is that
Yeah,
the word you're looking for?
Yeah, I don't. I think it just doesn't all come together for me, which is my problem with it. Like I like all the cast, uh, and I love the premise, and their ideas with vampires are very interesting. I just don't. And maybe on rewatch it would change my opinion, but just on a first watch, I don't know.
Yeah.
I it's one of those where I'm like, I don't know if my opinion is that solid about it.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like Noah was saying, it's definitely a vibes movie, and you're
Yeah,
just either
for
on its
sure.
frequency or not. I really like Kathryn Bigelow's direction. I need to see more of her work, but I just like the mood and tone of this movie. It's definitely a slow burn. Like this has dashes of like that 80s action flavor in the back half, but like this is not an action movie. And nor is it like a hardcore horror movie either, you know? Like it's definitely a slow burn. But just this world and these vampires, that's where I think just the take on vampires is where I think this movie really shines. And they're all casted perfectly and are such distinct characters that I really like.
Okay, so let me ask you about that, because that's the twice that you mentioned the take on vampires. They're just vampires. There's nothing that stood out to me about this take. What do you mean, these vampires?
It's a very stripped down, grounded take with most of the supernatural stuff removed. Like we don't do, they're allergic to garlic, or you have to invite them in, or they're repelled by crosses. None of that's in this movie. It's just you turn, you're basically immortal, but with the one thing they do keep from previous movies is that sunlight kills them. But there's no, what I like about this take is it removes the romanticism of vampires. There's no seductive element here. And sure, they talk about like, oh, well, living forever, that could be cool. But these people are they're just drifters because they have to be. Like there's no fortune, there's no wealth. Like they as to quote Red Letter Media, these are people, some of which have lived for like 100 years or 200 years and have nothing to show for it because they can't. Like they can only live and function in the nighttime. They have to kill to live. That's what they
Yeah.
become. And when you have to kill, you have to keep moving. You know, so there's no steady home, there's no castle. It's they're miserable, gross people. Like there is nothing romantic about these vampires, and that's the take I really latch onto, that I find interesting. And again, tonally very similar to something like Let the Right One In, which I really love.
It's this isn't me disagreeing with you. This just popped in my mind. It's really funny when you say they're not seductive, considering how this whole mess starts.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, because May, you know, she's kind of a siren type character. She lures him in,
Yeah.
and turns him.
Is that what's happening?
Very, very similar to. Well,
I never got
she's-
the sense she wanted to do that.
Well, I think she was just trying to kill him. My interpretation has always been she's planning to draw one of those guys out, kill them, feast on them, call it a day. But then she just likes him too much, and then which results in her just biting him, and then he turns. So the other vampires reluctantly have to bring him in and try to teach him their ways and assimilate. But that's at least always been my interpretation, that she is out and about just trying to draw somebody in. Just to eat, because people are just food.
Yeah.
Nightshade Holloway, I don't recognize that name in the chat. The vampires seem grittier in this movie, no reference to mythology or supernatural rights or beliefs, right? It's been ages since I've seen it, though. Yeah. And I guess that just never dawned on me. Like, now that it's been pointed out, I can see that. I think the problem with that is, because I like that idea of, like, you know, she's just out looking for food, and this guy comes up with the most awkward introduction of all time. He just walks up like, hey, can I have a bite of your food? What?
He's also like really weirdly scummy and sleazy, like
He
in
is.
that
Yeah,
first
I
scene.
got that too. When they're in
Yeah.
Yeah,
the car and
he is
he's
trying
like,
to take advantage of her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then she like changes her mind because I guess she's having a good time with this guy. But then the sun is coming up, so she just bites him and then runs off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That all felt really rushed. That should have been the slow burn.
Yeah, that
yeah, that
I'd be
all
right
that
on
all worked for me because, and I could kind of see it coming. I was like, oh yeah, she's the vampire, but, um, from the perspective of a young person that is, uh, like she's attracted to this guy, but also doesn't want to is worried about bringing him into the life. At least that's kind of what my interpretation of her, what she's thinking during that time. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Like that all worked for me.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
What do you think, Hayden?
Um,
like Robert said, I do like how the vampires are grittier. They're living in a dirty Winnebago. I don't know exactly what it was, but
Yeah.
they're in a dirty van driving around the country. They're just drifter killers, which is a good idea for vampires. And I think what it is for me is that this movie, the movie it is and the movie I was told it is are not the same movie.
Okay,
I was expecting like a really Western, like a Western vampire thing, and even if it's in modern times, like it,
mm,
I didn't feel like I really got that.
real quick. Sorry, Hayden. We'll come back to that. I just mean, what do you think about the thing that we're talking about at the beginning?
Okay.
Come
Oops.
on, Hayden.
No. The
I guess
my
just
brain,
how he's brought
my
in.
brain rewired.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what do you think about this scene we're talking about? He just went on about the whole movie.
Leave me alone, John. Hold on, give me a second. Yeah, I mean, like you guys were talking about, he was weird and creepy. And then
Yeah.
it like turns out that she was the vampire. It's like the opening scene of Buffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Sure.
not quite, but yeah, I don't mind it. They just never really. I think I could have had it gone on a little bit longer. It felt kind of, I don't know, undercooked might not be the right word, but it's how I felt about it.
And I think part of
fair
the
enough.
problem too is, I think if I had seen this earlier, I would have loved it. But I have seen other things that do everything in this movie, minus the removal of the mythology, better. Like, I'd rather watch, From Dusk Till Dawn, or Midnight Mass, or the Buffy show. Like, this exists in this weird jack of all trades spot where it's not giving me anything better than anything else out there.
What I think, what I like that this does is just the grittiness, the bluntness of it. Because From Dusk Till Dawn, becomes a really over the top schlocky action movie.
Right.
Midnight Mass is a much bigger story and even kind of like operatic at times, just with how that plays with religion. And this, I think most people think is the best scene of this movie. What I think is the centerpiece of the whole thing is when you get to that bar scene and that whole massacre.
Yes.
That I think really stands out in how brutal and blunt it is. The violence isn't romanticized. It's not cool, but it's also not like a traditional scary scene either. It's just so horrific and subdued and quiet. Like you just have like the jukebox playing in the background and people just standing frozen, just observing what's going on as they're just slowly picked off one by one in very brutal, realistic ways. That's what really stands out to me in this movie with that scene in particular, is how realistic the violence is portrayed.
Yeah. And kind of jumping off what you're talking about, John, I will admit, there were a lot of things in this movie that I as I was watching it, I was like, "Oh yes, I've seen this in other vampire stuff." Probably by virtue of the fact that we're watching through a lot of it this month, but
Yeah.
not for the channel. I also watched Interview with a Vampire for the first time recently. I can
I
see a
almost
lot
watched
of
that.
that in this. It's really good. I could see a lot of that in this. Just from the idea of like someone getting turned, the person that turned them's like trying to convince them to kill, but he doesn't want to do that because he doesn't want to compromise his morals. Both movies have a person that's turned as a kid, so they end up being a vampire that's just like living forever in a kid's body,
Which is
throughout
horrible.
most of it, which is
Yeah.
horrifying. They both cover a lot of similar themes, but I think something that I saw in this that I don't quite get in other vampire stuff is more the specific grittiness of it, and kind of like what Hayden was saying, it's not a straight up Western. I'd say this is more neo Western. This is kind of
Yes.
more like Breaking Bad meets horror rather than
Well,
traditional
that would
Western
explain a
meaning
lot.
horror. Yeah,
Well,
and
Breaking
also
Bad's peak, but
Breaking Bad's
No.
peak. Uh,
Well, and
uh,
Hayden, to your point, like you're right. Like this isn't as much of a Western as you wanted it to be, and that's fair. There's just enough of that Western flavoring in this that I enjoy. I mean, you do get like a big shootout scene with cops, and then just
yeah.
the environment and setting. But Noah's right. Like this is more of a neo-Western. Like that Hell or High Water is one I'd compare this
Yeah.
yeah,
to.
or like
Tonally.
but also with the Breaking Bad comparison too, I'm thinking more that like this is a movie about anti-heroes, or
Yes.
I think it would be more accurate to say villain protagonists like Breaking Bad is, and like a lot of like The Sopranos and that kind of thing, where like in that really that awesome bar scene, we're just really bluntly watching these awful people do awful things.
Mhm.
And I think that kind of approach is not specifically something I've seen fused with vampire stuff before.
Real quick, Nightshade in the chat says when Near Dark came out in '87, you're coming off Fright Night and Lost Boys. Felt very new and
Yeah.
edgy and a darker alternative to the more popular vampire flicks, and that is fair. I'm putting it into that perspective. I can respect what this movie's going for. I think I don't want to be so blunt with this, but I think at the end of the day, this is just not what I want in a vampire movie ultimately. But I like a lot of it.
Fair
Bill
enough.
Paxton is great. I could just watch him. Like
Yes.
I wish he was the leader of the
Yeah.
vampires because he's the best character.
Oh,
And
well,
I was
the
Although
whole
waiting.
Aliens
I
cast,
like
I
Lance
love.
Henriksen.
Whoa. Oh, okay. Hold on. Slow down. Robert, what did you say?
Well, I just said the whole Aliens cast I love. You get 3 of them in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yes.
I think they're all great.
I
Hayden,
was waiting
what
it
did you
until
say?
someone would bring that up.
I said I like Lance Henriksen though. I think he works as the leader of the vampires.
Great
Yeah.
backstory too. That he's like
Yeah,
this
the
bitter
Civil War.
ex-Confederate soldier. So he is the oldest of them.
We lost.
I like that. I like that line a lot. Where he's like, "We lost."
We lost. So, and that's what I was about to bring up is, I will admit, I don't know how much of it is I like the cast because it's half the cast of Aliens, and I love them in Aliens. But they're really well cast for their particular parts, especially Bill Paxton, who I think just steals the show in that bar scene. He's just having so much fun in this movie.
He is. And I love how through their personalities and performance is how you can kind of gauge how long each one individually has been a vampire, to where Bill Paxton's character is in that stage where he's enjoying it. He's gotten past the being hung up on killing people, because I don't know if I think this guy was a serial killer before he was a vampire, but whether he was or wasn't, he is now fully into it. And some of the others are a lot more bored and bitter.
Yeah.
But he is the most like, no, this is great. I'm immortal and I could kill people. May, the girl, is the youngest and still getting used to it. She does kill people. Like, we do see that happen in this movie. But she has more of this wistful optimism of, I'm going to live forever till the end of time. Like, the reality hasn't set in for her that, no, that there's no way this is going to last. Like,
she's like compartmentalized it too. She's like, don't
Yes.
think of it as killing. Just don't think. Just like do it.
Right, but she doesn't enjoy it in the way Bill Paxton's character does, where he takes
Mhm.
the lead. Like that's
Yeah.
that's become his entertainment. Is at night. Well, at least I get to go out and kill people in horrible, brutal ways, and like that's become his entertainment. What's keeping him going?
Yeah, absolutely. And Lance
And then,
Henriksen plays it well too. Like he really sells the like kind of reserve or not reserve, but just like he's given up. Like
mhm.
Yeah.
This is the second movie I've watched this month that has a child smoking, by the way.
where that
Pretty
happened
common for the
twice.
Yeah.
What was the first one?
Child's Play 2.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um, there was
I
just
did
something in the
think it
water
was-
in those like 3 years between those movies.
I did think it was fun's the wrong word, but I think it was kind of to have the child vampire be the one that explodes at the end.
Yeah.
That was great.
That's great. No, he's like so unlikable, but you get it. Like he's the most
Yeah.
miserable of them because
What was his name? It was like
Homer.
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 Yeah. Homer.
All I could think of every time he popped up on screen was the kid in RoboCop 2.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I can't.
It's funny
And-
because he's, I think, maybe the oldest of the group, or he's like an old man in a kid's body, they say, but
Yeah,
he
he
acts
says
the most
that.
like a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not
Which is-
been a vampire as long as Lance Henriksen.
Which is a
Okay.
terrifying idea of the like forced to be a child forever. That's always
Yes.
freaked me out.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
I-
Yeah, also, I think it has real quick. I think that has like the most clever kill sequence outside the bar scene is when they show him on that bike. I'm like, why does he have a bike? That's kind of a weird choice. But then you see him pretending to be passed out on the road, so somebody stops to see if he's okay, and then he attacks him. I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's clever.
Yeah.
That's fun stuff.
Tyler, how does this compare to something like Dracula of 1992? I'd say they're both
Very
they're very different, but they're both. This might sound harsh, but I'd say they're both a lot of style over substance. So it really just depends on which style you like better.
I don't know. That's Coppola's Dracula, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
92, yeah.
Yeah.
Coppola's Dracula is like the style of that movie is immaculate.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like the plot. I mean, it's weird with that, and I'm not gonna just review that, but like that's the plot of the book. It just feels weird.
Right.
Well, it's
But,
because he changes he makes it more of a love story, like a honest to God love story, which is a choice.
Yeah.
And this has some love story stuff too, which I like in vampires. But
I like it. It's just it's weird in that one because it's a reincarnation thing.
Right.
And it's weird in this
Yeah.
one because to me, part of where I come off saying that this is mostly style, no substance, is there's not a lot of substance to the love story in this. They just decide they're attracted
will
to
give
each
you
other, and that's all we get.
no, I think that this is like 80s romance, the like personified, where it's like, oh, at the end we're gonna go make out. Like,
I can see
No,
that.
I think I will give you that, and I think part of why I'm ultimately okay with it is because they're both young people. I kind of see it as like a Romeo and Juliet type of thing, where like this is just like a fling, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think not to jump to the end. I just think it does have kind of a forced happy ending. That's my biggest hang up
Yeah.
with
oh,
it.
I
But
think so
yeah.
too.
what I do, one thing I do appreciate, as surface level as the romance is, I feel like for me, what does differ it from other 80s movies is you have the guy who's kind of sleazy, but I feel like this movie is at least aware of that. Like, I don't feel like the movie is, because there's a lot of that in, especially like teen sex comedies of the guy character doing very questionable things, and I feel like this movie's at least aware he's not a great person and doing some questionable stuff, just with how the opening's
Yeah.
framed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like I said, I like the style of it a lot, but I also think with the other vampires, for me, there is a lot of substance here because I think the take is very interesting, and I think individually all these characters are really interesting. Like with the kid, and I think her name's Diamondback, the other lady, the one from
Yeah.
Aliens. Like I like their dynamic. I like their dynamic a lot because you get the vibe that she probably turned him into a vampire because she wanted a child because she acts like the mother to him even though he's been alive for God knows
And
how long.
Yeah.
Didn't Homer turn May? Is that what they? Don't they say
Yes.
that?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Tyler says I could be wrong, but how you're describing this kind of sounds like a John Carpenter movie.
I think it's got John Carpenter vibes to it. I think they have similar
But
sensibilities.
also John Carpenter's movies aren't all the same. Like I
No.
you can't just
Yeah.
say, oh, it sounds like a John Carpenter movie. Do you mean The Thing? Do you mean Halloween? Do you mean In the Mouth of Madness? Like, and I wouldn't
No, but
describe any of
I
his movies
kinda
as
see.
style over substance. There's style and then there's substance depending on how much, not the substance, but substance.
Although John Carpenter's The Substance would go hard.
That
Yes.
would go so hard. Imagine if the characters in this movie took the substance. Oh my god.
This would be a better
Oh,
movie.
And I'm not gonna say I didn't like this movie because I did.
No,
Yes.
I do like it. I think it is a little overhyped by fans. Like they act like this is some kind of hidden masterpiece, and I don't think it is. But I think it is worth watching, and it is a good movie.
Yeah, it's a cult classic. Again, not perfect, but
So
for what it
Tyler
is, I think it's really cool.
Tyler says he's talking more like They Live in Prince of Darkness. So if you're saying that it's all style and no substance sounds like those, I respectfully disagree. They Live has a lot more substance to it.
Especially with They Live.
That's
Yeah, They Live
also
is like a satire.
that's also not the John Carpenter movie I'd compare this to. For me, it's more like the slow burn vibe and tone I see with more of his early work. That's more what I was thinking of.
And yeah,
I think
not
this
Prince
is
of
closer
Darkness.
to The Fog.
I don't know how to analyze Prince of Darkness because that movie's insane. But there's a lot of substance there. Oh, what'd you think?
I kind of loved it.
It's awesome.
Well, what
It's
movie
so
was
cool.
Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness. Yeah.
it? Oh,
Yeah.
I could see comparing this to The Fog because that is also a lot of vibes and a lot of characters that I don't think on paper are very deep or interesting, but the actors bring them
It's
to.
completely fair. I think that this, for me personally, I think this movie has stronger characters than The Fog. But if you were to compare this to any Carpenter movie, that's just the first one that came to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
But
Well,
sorry. Well, I was gonna transition out of the John Carpenter talk to earlier. I said I had a problem with one thing. What do you guys think of the blood transfusion thing as a cure for vampirism? Did you think that was a bit easy, or
It's a
Yeah.
plot convenience.
No, it's
'Cause,
awful.
I think that's really easy.
Yeah, in the context of a more grounded take on vampires, I can roll with it. But yeah, I don't love that choice. For me, it's more of an issue at the very end when she is. Spoiler alert for this movie, by the way. Watch it first and then come back to the rest of this review. It's when I'm 50-50 on if our protagonist should live or not. I could see it going either direction. Where I think it goes too far is just the forced happy ending and her also getting cured and them being together at the end, because she has killed people and doesn't really pay for that, and I think that's kind of a mistake. Like, I think a better ending for this movie is either she dies and this is all over, or both her and him die. I like if they just die in the sunlight together because he doesn't want to live like this, and
Real quick,
he talks her into it. I think that would be a better ending to this movie.
we will swing back on that because yes, I have a lot of thoughts about most of this movie after a certain point. But Tyler says I'm not talking about silence or silence, no substance. I think you mean style and no substance. Just based off what you're saying, I wasn't saying this for style or substance per se. Well, I mean, admittedly, there's some delay, but that's what we were talking about when your message came through, so I just
Yeah.
assumed it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
You saying that did just make me think of a movie called Silence of the Substance, and I need it.
Yes. But last thing I want to say, I haven't seen that, but I would say, or seen this, but a more apt comparison, I think, to this movie would be George Romero's Martin, because he's doing a similar thing that I would love to see. I don't know if you guys know about this, but that movie is about a guy that thinks he's a vampire and goes around draining people. But it's also very methodical and like realistic, and maybe he's a little crazy.
Yeah.
That sounds like something I would like, so I might check that out.
I need to see it. And my favorite thing about the take on vampires in this is a version where like you are still you when you're turned, and you have to adjust to having to kill people and view people as food, and it just makes it a lot more, I think, disturbing and grounded compared to some others. Because some movies I love, like From Dusk Till Dawn, which I think becomes a very entertaining schlocky action movie in the end, that is very much a movie where when you turn into a vampire, like you become a monster. You're a different person. Like when Tom Savini and some of those other characters change, they become completely different people when they're vampires. This is more in the vein of Midnight Mass and Let the Right One In, where it's like, no, you're like the same person. You can't enjoy food anymore. You have to drink blood or you're gonna die, and you have to figure out how to deal with that. And that idea I find really disturbing.
But yes, to what we were saying about the ending, I think this movie jumps the shark the minute you cure him of vampirism. This is not the movie that the protagonist gets a happy ending whatsoever. Either he is cursed forever to be a vampire because he made a stupid decision, or he sacrifices himself to save his family, and that's his redemption. I think those are the only two acceptable endings to this film.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, if he lives, I think he needs to stay a vampire. The blood transfusion is just too easy. I don't know what else could work for a cure. Like, because Lost Boys does
Right.
that too, but it's not quite the same. Like,
So
he wasn't designed
usually
to become.
the idea is you kill the head vampire and then other people they've turned become human again, and that's like Fright Night. That's how we usually get out of it and have characters.
But I think this movie
become
is
human
too trying to be too dark and grounded for any of that.
I
This should be the
agree.
movie where when you are cursed, or when you are turned, that's it. There is no cure.
Noah, what did you want to say on that?
Well, because I have mixed feelings about it. I do think that it is too easy. And yeah, like like if this is gonna be a gritty, realistic take on a vampire, I think almost the more logical ending is maybe like it works for a bit, and then the next time he goes out into the sunlight, like at the end, he ends up dying. Um, but as far as the love story goes, yeah, I think I was fully expecting this to end tragically, and I don't think the final shot is quite earned. And yeah, like I think it almost would have been a better ending if she died with the rest of them in that car chase scene. Because also in the final scene when she gets the blood transfusion, it's like you were just saying, Robert. Like we never get a sense of like this doesn't feel like something she really wants. I don't think she wants to be human again. She's kind of adjusted to killing fully. So when we get that last freeze frame on them like hugging at the end before it cuts to credits, there's almost like kind of like a darkness to it. Like maybe maybe I don't know, like this could continue and she could be very upset by the fact that she's human again. Or I don't know.
Real quick, Nightshade Holloway kind of summed up my thoughts on it. He says basically, I think Near Dark doesn't quite reach the potential of its awesomely cool premise. I love the blended Western horror, and a handful of scenes are memorable, exceptional, and memorable. Yeah, I mean that's how I describe this whole movie. Is it reaches for greatness, but there's just a something missing in the pie,
in the
so to
way.
speak.
Yeah, like I said, I agree. I don't think it fully sticks the landing. I think it has kind of a forced happy ending, though. Noah's read on it, I kind of like if that's the intention. But I also want to mention, besides being directed and co-written by Kathryn Bigelow, this was also co-written by Eric Red, who wrote The Hitcher,
Oh,
which John really liked,
that
and
movie's
very
awesome.
similar tone to this. And I do think the better movie of the two, and that movie I think really sticks the landing in the somber tone.
Yes.
uh, so of the two, I do think The Hitcher is better, but
No,
both films have
because
very similar sensibility.
I didn't think too hard about it until we started talking about it. The third act of this screams studio interference. Because I don't know if this was supposed, like, if anybody intended for this to be, a next big film, because vampires are in. But
I
it feels
think
like they
this-
pivoted because of
well-
studio notes.
Well, I read some behind the scenes stuff. Kathryn Bigelow wanted to make a western, just a western, and
Oh.
the studio's like, no. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, vampires are in. I'll make a vampire western.
And
Yeah.
this was also from Dino De Laurentiis's film company, but I think this was the year that company went under. So like this got dumped by the time it was released. So that's why this thing flopped at the box office. So yeah, while they're making it, is there any studio interference? I'm not sure. Here's where I'll defend the blood transfusion idea, or where I at least see what they're going for. Because the other thing I like about this movie that we haven't talked about is vampirism as a metaphor for drug addiction, which is like very heavily all over this movie, with
Right.
the way he's portrayed, like when he's not getting blood and he's like tweaking out, and then this is very much a prodigal. This is a prodigal son story where he returns to his family. He's made a lot of mistakes, and then there's some scenes that like or feel like he's going through withdrawals. And then after the blood transfusion, it's like it's his born again moment, and him coming home and getting his second chance. So when viewed from that angle, I get what they're going for, even if it is a contrivance. So again, that's where I'm more mixed on that choice than I outright dislike it. I still think this movie has more of a happy ending than it
If
should have, and that's my problem with it.
if
But
you're
I
gonna
like
do that, I need more of his home life before he goes off and becomes a vampire.
And I've never had that issue, just because we are checking in with his dad and his sister throughout the movie, and then when those two storylines finally converge, I think it's satisfying. So like I said, the whole prodigal son angle is something I've always liked about it.
Hayden, what do you
Robert's
think?
point Robert's point about the drug addiction thing, I was gonna throw in. I really like that scene where he's like, where they're working outside and his sister sees him coming home, and he's like stumbling home drunk,
Yes.
like from a
Yeah.
bar, but he's smoking because he's
Yep.
a vampire now, and I like that visual a lot. As like he has his addiction, but it's
Yeah.
like I like that visual a lot.
And then
And
they
just like
scoop up.
the idea that he's like fallen in with a bad crowd.
Which is
And
hilarious because he has no choice in the matter.
Yeah.
yeah, well,
It's funny because I think this only came out a few months after The Lost Boys, from what little
Mhm.
research I did. And
but they have very similar setups.
yeah, and I don't know if this is a better movie, but I think I like this a bit more than The Lost Boys. I like this tone more.
So this is I didn't like this movie as much as you guys did. I still like it more than The Lost Boys. I don't really like that movie.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I'd have to watch
Fright
it
Night is
again.
still-
The correct choice for best 80s vampire movie is Fright Night, but
Yes.
And
yes.
I've only seen it once during a commentary. I need to watch it on my own, but I agree on the one viewing I have.
well, it has been about 40 minutes and we have other things to do. So, Robert, since this is your pick, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Like I said, just I just love this crew of vampires. I think they're cool. And one of my favorite scenes is when our protagonist reunites with the sister, and they bring his dad in as a hostage, and he's like, "That's my father." Lance Henriksen has the best reaction shot in this movie, where he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, he's just
Oh,
like,
okay.
"Okay."
I'm glad you brought that up because I did have a question. So, unless I missed something, the setup is that Homer goes out looking for food or whatever and runs into the little girl that just so happens to be the main character's sister. Is that too big of a
That's a little-
coincidence for you?
Yeah.
Because that's a little forced.
I thought that was a little convenient.
It's convenient, but they're looking for him the whole movie, so I think it's fine when when they finally cross paths. And the motivation of the kid vampire is so disturbing. Of
Oh yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna turn this little girl, and then she can be like me forever. I can finally have a real soulmate, so to speak, and it's really fucked up and
It's
weird.
creepy.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of great tension there, and I just think when you do get the big shootout with the cops, I think that scene is very creative. How the bullet holes and the sunlight going through, and the way they just burst into flames and
Yeah.
patches. I think some of the effects are hold up really well when they're running outside and they're on fire in slow motion. I think that stuff looks
Except-
pretty good.
The only like
yeah,
catching on fire effects I thought were like bad were it was actually at
kid.
the end in the car too. I had some of that where I'm
Oh.
like, those look rough.
Yeah,
The
I thought
one
it was fine.
the one that I thought didn't hold up well is the kid running on fire, just because I thought it was like very obviously painted on optically, but
Yeah, when he explodes, it's really funny, and I do.
That is
yeah. But then he explodes and it's great.
And I think the last moment with Lance Henriksen's character and Diamondback is perfect, where they just give up and they just
Yeah.
throw their hands up like, we had a good run, and they just let themselves burn up and die in the sunlight. Because this, I think, more than any other, really illustrates, oh, if you're going with the rule that vampires die in sunlight, well, that really sucks. That's half of all time they have to deal with. And if you don't have a castle, the life's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
And
It
that's an
is-
angle that I think is really cool.
It is weird for a movie that is so obsessed with stripping away all of the stuff that makes vampires vampires that's what we keep.
Yeah.
But,
Well, they need a weakness, and I think, but I think it just serves the themes of the story of these. They're serial killers. These are people who live at night. You know, I think it just serves the themes of the movie. That's their big weakness here.
All right. Robert, what is your score out of 5?
This is a 4 out of 5 for me. I love this film. I've always really liked it.
Hell yeah. Hayden, final thoughts and score.
like I said at the beginning, it's I'm not gonna say it's bad. I think it might have just been I had a bad watch. Because that happens sometimes with everybody has that with some things.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe on a second viewing I'd like it a lot more. It just didn't gel for me with what it and I like the ideas a lot. I think it's just it didn't fully fit together for me. I gave this on Letterboxd, I gave it a 2.5. I might bump that up to a 3, but I'm gonna go with 2.5 at the moment.
All right.
Noah, final thoughts and score.
Final thoughts. This is a pretty. I thought it was a pretty solid vampire movie. Even though it does a lot of the things that I've seen before, but in a very like blended with a specific kind of tone and genre that I haven't really seen. So I thought that was cool. Score. I'm going back and forth between a 3.5 and a 4. I think for right now I'll just stick with 3.5, but I did really like it.
This is an incredible soundtrack wrapped up in an okay movie. I gave it a 3.5 on Letterboxd, but the more I talk about it, I gotta bump it down to a 3. This might be the most divisive movie we've had in a while. We like hit all 4 corners. But I like that. I love the soundtrack for this, or the score for this movie.
Yeah, from
Tangerine Dream.
Tangerine Dream. Yeah, good job.
Good
And
soundtrack.
Nightshade agrees with us that Fright Night is the best 80s movie. Hell yeah. We love to
Yeah,
see
yeah.
it. All right. Well, that has been our review from Near Dark. We have how Fright Night is better than The Lost Boys. Absolutely.
Yeah, yes.
And I'm probably the biggest Lost Boys fan here. I really like the Lost Boys. I think it's fun, but yeah, Fright Night's better.
That's pretty good. I just prefer Friday Night.
It's good. I need to see it again, but
It's fine. It's okay. Like, it's not awful, but like,
yeah.